Booger, why don't you lay in your bed? Aw, don't jump. Aw, come here. Aw. I have an injured doggie. She has a bad hip. I don't know why. I suspect it's because of her weight. Oh, she jumped. She made this hip sore. So we're trying to keep her from bouncing too much. So it is not an easy task with a Boston Terrier. Would you like down? Okay, here we go. Ooh, down you go. Do you want your bed down there? All right. She has her very own bed on the floor, just to keep her occupied. Nope, she wants to go out. All right, let me let her out, and then we'll get going. Come here, Legs. Okay, take 3. We are free of both dogs because they just couldn't calm down, I guess. Hello and welcome to the Knitted Bean podcast. My name is Echo and I will be your host today. The Knitted Bean is a nitty, nerdy, and sometimes sweary podcast with a side order of fandom recommendations at the end, although we do not have any today because I have been lacking spoons and enthusiasm for reading. So today you will get other stuff. It is episode 14 and it is the 1st of August, 1 week from my birthday. My birthday is August 6th and I will be turning 38. So I do have quite a few acquisitions this time. Some of those are presents. So we'll get into those towards the end. If you are looking to get a hold of me on the internet, you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram, both as The Knitted Bean, or you can email me at knittedbean@gmail.com. I am not drinking out of a fancy mug today because it's hot and I didn't want to drink hot tea while it was hot. So I just have a fun mug from Caroline's Comedy Club. It's not a mug, it's a tall glass. From Caroline's Caroline's Comedy Club in New York City, which is where a relative used to live. And so we've gone out there and been there a couple of times. So in that I just have some iced coffee and caramel and almond milk, which is my typical iced caramel latte, basically, that I make at home. So let's jump right into things. I have one FO today, and it is what I am wearing. This is the Diaphanous Raglan by Jessie Made Designs. It is a $12 pattern. It does have a pay what you can scale with discounts if that's not in your budget, although I highly recommend, if you can afford it, just paying the full price because it's 100% worth it. It's got a lot of options for sleeves and shaping versus not shaping. The original pattern is a crop top. I am a big girl, and although big girls can totally get away with wearing crop tops, they're usually styled a specific way with like big flowy skirts or high-waisted jeans, neither of which are A, really my style, or B, even in my wardrobe. I do have like 2 high-waisted pairs of leggings, which I mentioned on the last podcast, but that's it. I don't have any high-waisted jeans, and so I didn't want to like limit myself to only being able to wear it with those 2 pairs of leggings. And I don't wear a skirt unless somebody's getting married or somebody died. So, and even then it's questionable. So I went ahead and made it longer. The pattern's great. It tells you exactly what yardages you're gonna need for how long you want to make it. I did the rolled sleeve, cap sleeve with a roll option, and I did do the waist shaping, and then because I was making it long and because I know my shape and I have a big ass, I did some A-line shaping once I got past my natural waist. So I will pause and insert some footage here to show you the full way that it looks. Back all the way up here. So this is the full meal deal. It's, like I said, cap sleeve. It's got the V in the front. It has a V in the back, which shows off my tattoo, so I like that. It's just a few inches longer than my pants. And then in the front, because I'm kind of a big girl, it is probably about 2 inches longer. It doesn't flash when I bend. It does sit a little bit higher in the front on me because I have really big chest. If I made another one, I actually might do like a short row just to bring the back up and bring the front down a little. I don't think you need it on most people. I just think that I happen to have a really big chest, and so for me it would be beneficial to kind of keep this from being quite so close to the top of my jeans here, whereas in the back I have several more inches. It's just kind of my shaping. I have a very crooked back, like S curve wise. So that's what you've got. Overall length, I did 25 inches from the top of the shoulder hem to the bottom. I knew that that was the length that I was aiming for and hoping to get, because that is the length that my Fog and Whisper cardigan was before I blocked it, and I liked where that landed. I also like where my Fog and Whisper cardigan lands now that I've blocked it, but I didn't want this that long. I did do the full 3 inches of ribbing, which I really like the look of. I didn't love so much having to do. I'm fast at ribbing, so it's fine. Like, I just was ready to be done. And it's made in Illimani Sabri, which is a cotton alpaca blend, 85% cotton, 15% baby alpaca. That is the lighter undercolor here. And then this darker lace is a 70% alpaca, 20% silk, 10% cashmere Vega lace from Das Mannschaft. It is not a fluffy lace like a lot of the mohair or the other alpaca melt or alpaca floof ones are. So it's very much of a just a see-through texture. A very open knit on the shoulders. Sorry, I'm out of breath now that I got up. So I probably made this a good 6 inches longer, I think, than it was supposed to be. I did the size 2X, which is a 56-inch bust. It has the ease built in, basically. I measure at a 53-inch bust, and it was supposed to have 4.5 to 6.5 inches of ease, so that gave me 3 inches. It was a little bit less than what it recommended, but it did say if you're in between sizes, size small. It's got lots of ease. I'm fine with it. And this didn't really stretch when I blocked it. You know, alpaca can be very, very stretchy with no memory, and that's the worry when you knit with it, is that you're gonna like get real long and real wide. But because it has 85% cotton in the majority of the body and in the top of the sleeve, the only part that really is at risk of stretching like that is the actual cap sleeve, and there's no weight put on that. So unless you picked it up by the edges of the sleeves, I don't really think that would be a problem. So I did block it. I did actually try to block it aggressively to see if I could get, you know, like another maybe inch of length out of it, but it didn't really, kind of just went back. So I'm fine with that. I'm good with the length that it is. I could not really have gotten much more length out of it. So I had 800 meters of both yarns. And this is what I have left of the cotton alpaca. And that's what I have left of the Das Mannschaft Vega lace. This is less than a gram. So I basically went until I was like, okay, I might be able to get like one more row and a bind off, and I bound off there so that I would for sure have a little extra in case I needed to like fix something. And then because this part isn't held double, I obviously had a bit more of the other one, but I just went till I ran out of yarn essentially and called it good. What I did was I had one skein of the lace and 2 of the cotton alpaca. So I knit down until I ran out of the cotton alpaca, and I stopped. I came, I picked up the neckline, I did the neckline, I bound off the sleeves, I did all the finishing, and then I came back and continued down so that I knew when I was out of yarn, I was out of yarn. I didn't have any other finishing details that I needed yarn for, and that worked really well. The pattern comes with a lot of little videos on how to, you know, what does it look like when you're knitting the sleeve? What does it look like when you're picking up the stitches for the neckline? Those were the only 2 that I looked at, but I know there's actually like 4 videos. So it's nice in that it does help you along that way, because it's definitely not a starter pattern. It's more of a mid-grade pattern, even though it's kind of like it's rated as easy, I think, on Ravelry. I think that anything a knitter feels comfortable doing, they've decided is easy. And so I've never rated anything as not easy. Even though I recognize this is probably not easy. To me, it's still easy. So that's my finished object. I love it. I finished it about 5 days ago, blocked it, and I've worn it like 3 times since, once for a couple hours, and then like half of yesterday, and then today. I'm in love with it. It's not too hot, even though it's hot here, even when I step outside, and it's perfect. So I love it. I'm happy with it. I think it came out looking really good. On to the whips, and I do have a few. All right, so we'll start with in my Fat Squirrel fibers. I showed these last time. These are the Wild Bees socks by Helen Stewart of the Curious Handmaid. And I'm still working on the first one, but I have made it quite a bit further. My little heel. I always do a Fish Lips Kiss heel. These are a gift sock. I'm currently debating on if I should tank back 4 rows, which I probably will, because I accidentally messed up and did a row twice. So this bee, I don't know if you can see right here? Yeah, that's supposed to be the end of his wing, but I gave him like a little under wing. And if it were like a one-off thing, like a shawl, I'd probably leave it, but it's a sock and it's got to match. And if I don't do it on the other side, that sock will be 1 row short. And if I do, it's gonna look weird because all the bees but 1 bee are gonna be perfect, and then there's gonna be 1 set of matching bees that are wrong. So I'll probably tink back and fix it. But I do overall really like the bee motif, especially the little middle. The stitch marker is just a little cactus from Adore Knits. Great little stitch marker on Bag Shop. She also has a podcast This is out of Fiber Seed. The Bee's Knees is the yellow. And Rain Clouds Over Aspen Lake is the contrast. This is left over from a pair of mitts that I made, and it's from Blue Barn Fibers. It's on their Purdy base, which they aren't selling right at the moment. They rotate through bases. It's like a half BFL, half silk. So that is one set. Those are out of the Curious Handmade Sock Society number 4. And then I have my July Farmer's Daughter Fiber Sock Squad color, which is a purple speckle. And it came with like a, I thought it was like a flesh colored pink mini, which I wasn't a fan of. So I subbed it with one of the older colors of minis that was just a mint green. And I am currently working on the first half of, I don't know. Ever since I got this, in my head they were going to be the Lavender Field socks, which is another Curious Handmade Sock Society number 4 pattern that is plain all the way up and then has a ring of lace around the top. And so that's what I'm thinking these are going to be. But I've had a really hard time just like committing to that. So I haven't labeled them yet. They're not a labeled item. Currently they're just vanilla socks that I started last night. So if you're wondering at my knitting speed, I started this last night at, I don't know, 9 probably at night. And I typically go to bed around 2 in the morning because I sleep until about 10 and I've always been a night owl. But I went to bed early last night at about 1. So this is max 4 hours of knitting. And I had taken some pain medication, which is why I chose to work on this and not the lace socks, because pain pills and lace don't mix, people. And so, yeah, from cast on to here is, I think, 3.5 hours maybe. That's my knitting speed, if you're ever curious. That is on their, I think it's the Pantler sock. It's whatever their 75-25 sock base is. So it's like all socks from here on out because I finished my shirt and I was like, back to the socks. Y'all know I love socks. Okay, so then the last FO I have is actually a hoe. It is living in my highly inappropriate Nerds with Vaginas bag. And this is also by Helen Stewart, because apparently I'm on a Helen Stewart kick right now. I don't know why. This is the Curling Mist, which is the first, no. This is out of a different Handmade Curious Sock Society, and I don't know which one. Let me get my sock walker. So I finished one of the 2 socks. Maybe this was the first one of the number 4 Curling Mist. I think it was. It's what I have written down. I should just trust what I have written down instead of second guessing myself. I was gonna make these tall, but I so rarely wear tall socks. So I made them like kind of mini crew. And these are in Mountain Colors Twizzlefoot Forest Harmony in an unknown Twizzlefoot colorway from years ago. It's like 5 years old. And I'm excited. I need to cast on the other one now. I've been working on these for like months. Probably all the way back in like February when I started these. They've just kind of like been my backseat car knitting, back burner Don't have to think about them much. I was cabling them without a cable needle and just kind of, they were there to take along when like I needed something to work on that didn't require too much brain power. I can't cast on the second one now until I finish with my Sock Society one, Sock Squad, because I only have 2 size 0 9-inch circulars, which is all I knit on. So when I finish those, then I can finish that. Because I have other 9-inch, but they're like ones and they're for color work socks. So like when I do a color work sock, I'll do the color work portion on a 1 and the rest of the sock on a 0, or the color work portion on a 2 and the rest of the sock on a 1, depending on what size I want. But every other sock in my world goes on a 0. I don't care what the gauge of the pattern says, because I like my 0s. I like my socks to be bulletproof. I could just order another needle, but I don't want to. So that's what I've got for whips. 3 sock whips, 1 finished shirt. Not bad for 2 weeks, I don't think. So now we get into the acquisitions, which is admittedly a really heavy section this time. Part of that's because it's the beginning of the month, so I get my Sock Squad, which is a gift from my husband from Christmas last year, that goes all the way through this year, Christmas. Part of it's because my birthday is in a week. And so I have a few things that are just like, oh, you can buy this. And then part of it is because I had sent some yarn to a friend of mine in Sweden and got some yarn in return. And part of it is because I won the Q2 prize for the Sock Squad, which was amazing. So let's dive into this mound of acquisitions. Literally, it's like a little pile over here. Last time I had this much yarn was Christmas. I'm kind of excited. So let's start with gifts first. So I did send my friend Taff over in Sweden a little box with a few like mill-made and American brands of yarn in it. So like some of them were like 20-gram minis that I rolled up from like leftovers that I had. Some of them were actual 20-gram minis that I had ordered that were in my stash that I thought she would like. And some were things that I ran down to my local yarn store and bought. And a few were like things that I went to like Michael's and things like that and got. So I packaged up this little box and put a card and mailed it. It has not gotten there yet because the USPS is having serious issues that we won't discuss, or I will go on a very, very long tangent. And that is not to say that I don't appreciate any actual workers of USPS, because I love them. My local post office, super sweet, very friendly, and have never hesitated to help me with a problem, whether it be that my mail got put in the wrong box and they drove back and like moved it for me, or my package to China got shipped back to me because they labeled it wrong and now they're gonna fix it. But like the overall whole United States system is a clusterfuck. Like there is no other word for that. Like there's shit sitting on pallets that's been sitting there forever. So I mailed it. Typically when I mail things overseas, they go through San Francisco and they are out of the country in like 4 days. This did not go through San Francisco. It went to someplace else and then to Jamaica, New York, and has been sitting in Jamaica, New York since the 14th of July. On the 18th, it said, it's moving within our network, and that was it. I have never heard another word. Like, it's not supposed to be moving within your network. It's supposed to be on a boat or a plane. So, I was not impressed. On the other hand, her stuff got here really quick. I had asked for some Holst yarn because you all know I really want some Holst yarn because it's super cheap and I refuse to pay the shipping on a super cheap yarn. So since she was sending me something anyway, that's what I wanted. So let's start with the card. I got a pretty card from Taff, and I got a hand knit gift. Now you have to keep in mind, Taff is somebody who just started knitting since she started watching this podcast. So knitting for less than a month, maybe. She made me a feather bookmark, and it is so cute. Isn't it gorgeous with the little tassel and the beads, and it all matches, and little buttons at the top. It's so perfect. I love it. So that's gonna go in one of my knitting books when I find another pattern to mark. Love it. And then I got my pick of 2 colors of Holzgarn, which is, this is the super soft. So it's 100% wool, 50 gram balls, and it's 314 yards. This is a fingering, and it is kind of a little scraggly looking because it still has the spinning oil in it. Oh God, it smells good though. It doesn't smell like oil. And I am going to use these for color work. This just seems like a really good color work combo. And I'll just throw a color catcher in with it when it's done in case the red decides to bleed massively into the, probably a hat. Right there. To look for the right spot. And then, because we all know I love alpaca, I got 2 colors of Holst Titanicaca. I don't know. That sounds so wrong. But it's Titicaca. How do you say that? Titicaca? That sounds awful. But green and blue. And they're so soft. There are 400 meters each in these. They're 50 gram balls. This is nettle and dragonfly. These, I think, are probably going to go into a rocket tee. Like, color, neutral, color, neutral. So every other stripe, the mohair stripes, will be these, held with a neutral all the way out, like a beige. It will be a little stripy rocket tee. I'm very excited about it. Very lovely. Well, thank you, Taff. Appreciate those. And I already have ideas. Then, what else? Okay, spoiler warning, because this is going to be going up on like the 3rd, and a lot of people won't have it yet, but I live in the same state as Farmer's Daughter, so I already have it. The August Sock Squad came, and it is on the Bear Paw sock, and I'm in love because it's my favorite color. Green. I'm like, I'm kind of in love with this color too. Like, I could just do a whole skein of this color. They have the best, like, neutral brown and tans. I just want a whole chunk of their horse belly, their nappy, and their elk antler. So just like these great neutral tan browns. This is going to be a cable sock. Not all over cables, I don't think, because I don't want to take that much time, but like a sock with a nice cable up the side. because it's the bear paw and the yak, and that really tends to be poofy with the cables. Then part of the sock squad is you get the yarn every single month, and if you knit a sock with it every month and you post them, every 3 months they do a drawing and they draw several winners for each quarter for a prize. And I thought the prize was a gift card, but it's not. They actually sent out a package, which was even better in my opinion. Maybe just because I like surprises and goodies, or I don't know. Gift cards are great, but this is awesome. So I won, and this did arrive yesterday, and I was a really good girl. I didn't open any of this so that I could show it all to you from the very bottom. So in the package came a candle from Handmade Habitat, and it is a sweet mint candle, and this is one where I really do wish you had smell-o-vision because it smells so good and I can't wait to burn it. It smells just like the Orbit's sweet mint gum, which is my favorite flavor of gum. And it's a 40-hour soy candle. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have like a little knitting retreat for myself. Then I got some grapefruit ginger eucalyptus lip balm. Hoorah! Which I haven't opened or tried because, again, I was being really good. Ooh, it smells very eucalyptusy. I'm surprised. I thought it would smell more grapefruity. It's definitely handmade. It's got like a little divot and everything. Ooh, it's really soft. Nice. Okay. And then a stitch fixer, which if you don't have one of these, I don't have one of these, or a crochet hook, you're missing out, because a crochet hook or stitch fixer will save your hiney. And I'm excited to have one because that means that I can stick this little guy in one of my go bags and keep my crochet hook at home, because I have two crochet hooks, kind of fixing a DK size and fixing like a finger weight size. And I've lost my DK weight size, so I stuffed it in the bag to take with me somewhere, because I was like, we really don't want to lose the other one. So this will be nice to have a spare to go traveling with. Then, and I was super duper excited about this because do you remember what I said like 1 or 2 episodes ago? Like, oh, I really want XYZ accrement, and it's a sock ruler. I was like, are they stalking my pages? Because I really wanted a sock ruler, and I've wanted one for a long time, and now I have one. And it's a nice one. The edges are like really nicely planed so that it does not catch on your socks. And I have already marked myself on it, so I know where to start my heel. Then a beautiful sister bag, which I'm so excited about because I have been ogling the beautiful sister bags for a while. They're really nice quality, and I have seen them on Piece for Piece Crafting with Michael. He gets them and they just look so amazing, and they have these big boxed bottoms, like big, and it just hasn't been in my budget, and so to just get one as a gift, I was like, eee! It's so good. And it's yellow, and I really like yellow. My husband hates yellow. It is like one of his least favorite. He says, I don't hate yellow. Yellow is a, what does he call it? A complementary color. It is not a main color. And I'm like, well, I think it's a main color. So I got a sock bag from them, and it has the little ring inside where you can hang your stitch markers. And then the icing on the cake, it's a Sock Squad prize. So of course you have to get some yarn, sock yarn. So this is the Jessica colorway, and it is like sunflower, no, not sunflower, like peach Bellini. Yeah, it's totally peach Bellini. It's like a peach Bellini color. And again, I like yellow. I don't know that yellow likes me, especially not when I'm kind of feeling red and hot because I've been talking, but I'm super into it. So I'm excited, and I really wanted to like crack this open, light my candle, and start a pair of socks last night, and I was like, I don't have a free sock needle. Damn it. So it has to wait. But it's pretty anyway, and I'll get to it soon. So that was the Q2 prize that I got. Then we went to Bozeman, which is a whole nother story that I'll get into in just a moment. And we did what we needed to do there. And then my husband was like, well, do you want to stop at the yarn store while you're here? Because, you know, we always got to stop at the yarn store when we go to a new place. And I was like, well, it depends. Do I get to buy any yarn? Because I don't want to go in there and look around and not be able to buy anything. Because I looked around there, I don't know, maybe a month ago with my sister. And he was like, yeah, sure, you can get a couple little things. So he got me, or I got me with his money, 2 Shopple Edition 3. So these are like a Zauberball, but these are not the actual Zauberball. So the actual Zauberball is a sock yarn, and it's bigger. It's 100 grams, and it's $25.75. This is 100% merino. So it's super squishy. It's a 50 gram. It still does a fun little funky gradient. And I don't know what I'm gonna use them for yet. This would make a really gorgeous hat. It's so like teal, but it's also got like every other color underneath it. So it's got like the pink, the purple, the blue, the green. It's got all these colors under it. So on the other hand, it will also make a really cute, like, I don't know, like a cute kid's sweatshirt. But I don't know anybody with kids. Not that small. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them yet. They're 100% merino, so I probably won't make socks with them. I could make socks with them, but I would prefer to have like a little bit of nylon or a little bit of silk or like a little bit of not bamboo or nettle or wood pulp fiber or something like that in there with it to kind of just little push. But damn, wouldn't they make the cutest kids knits? My notes died. Those are also sport weight. They are 150 meters to 50 grams. So 300 meters to 100 grams. So I would consider that a sport weight. Because 400 meters to 100 grams is it might be a DK, but sport DK, somewhere in there. So there's that. Anything else? Oh, I have one podcast that I want to mention, which is Lucy from This Nanny Knits. She is pretty hilarious. She's a nanny over in England, and she's just pretty hilarious. She's fun. She's blunt, which I enjoy. And she does some test knits. She does a lot of selfish knitting, which is always fun to see. And she like admits when she flubbers up and goes back and fixes it, and it's just real like authentic in that way. So you should definitely go check her out. So like I said, there's no fandom in this podcast because my spoons for reading have been like totally empty. And so I haven't had a chance to read anything to see if it was worth passing on to you or not. I have been doing a GoFundMe for a mobility scooter so that I can be a little more out and about, a little more like active in just society, like going to the zoo or walking my dogs or the grocery store or whatever, because it's always kind of a struggle to, you know, oh, I'd like to go to Costco or the grocery store or something like that. And yes, they have the little scooters there that you can use, but only if not everybody else is using them, right? And so I would say at least 50% of the time that I go, if not more, there are no scooters available, which means that I then have to put my cane in a grocery cart and lean on the grocery cart and use that like a walker. And that, while it's better than like walking and just walking with my cane, I still get so out of breath and it wears me out, and then I'm worn out for a day or two afterwards, and I end up sleeping for like 18 hours, and it just turns like shopping into a whole expedition that I wish it didn't have to be. And you know, then you have things like walking a dog or things like that. They're just no longer possible for me, and I would like them to be. And so I had put up a GoFundMe to raise money for a mobility scooter so that I could do those things, not be dependent on companies to be supplying a scooter or me to be renting a scooter from, like, say, the zoo when we go to the zoo, etc. And it was amazing. It's wonderful. I can't thank people enough. I received tons of support, and my scooter is totally funded. I am just waiting for the last deposit to come through, and then I'm gonna order it. And when I get it, I'll put some footage of me on it in here. So it's wonderful. I'm super excited about that. That is why we went to Bozeman. We went to test out. I was looking between like a two-wheeled scooter because I don't want to look like everybody's grandma on a little red cart. I wanted something that was a little bit more fitting of somebody who's about to turn 38 and not so like, I don't know, something that didn't quite label me so obviously, I guess. So I was looking at like a two-wheeled scooter, like you would see like the bird scooters, but I have balance problems, and so I wanted to go up and see if I could even balance one. And it's sketchy. It's really sketchy. So I wobble a lot, and I get really out of breath just working to balance it, and it would really be a problem if I fell because I'm on blood thinners, so I have a clotting problem. And so I just decided that's probably not the safest option for me. So I'm gonna go for a three-wheeled scooter instead, which is fine. So that's what we were up in Bozeman for, and why I got to stop at the yarn shop there. That, however, has taken up a large part of my brain space for the last couple of weeks and not left much space for like reading and perusing. So instead of doing that, I posted on my Instagram to see if anybody had any questions about me, about knitting, about my dogs, about my life, whatever. And I did get a few that I wanted to answer. So the first one was from Emily at High Fiber Knits. And she asked, if you didn't knit, what kind of non-fiber craft would you deep dive into? So this is both an easy and a hard one. So easy, I would say, is photography, because I've already done a deep dive. I actually used to do semi-professional photography, like portraits and stuff like that. I would never want to do it for money again. After I did some weddings, I was like, never again. That's just way too much stress. But I've done like art photography and stuff like that before. And I quit about the time that photography changed from film to digital. So I do have a digital camera now. That is what I record on, is a DSLR. But it would be fun to do more of a deep dive into the digital side of that, because I'm sure I don't know as much about the digital as I used to know about the film. On the other hand, it's hard, because if you take that away, since I already did that, then I don't really know. I'm married to an art teacher, so probably like painting or something like that, which I could do because we have all the supplies. I just never get around to. Next question was from Andy the Knitress. And this one really made me think, let me tell you. Was there any part of knitting that ever seemed intimidating to you, but once you did it, you realized it wasn't that bad? And if so, what was it? So I actually asked my husband to help me with this one. I was like, did I ever like complain about anything? And he was like, color work. And I think that probably is it. Color work flat was my nemesis for a long time, and I don't think it was because it was hard. I think it was because I was convinced that it was going to be hard, because I mean, I can knit color work fine, and I can knit color work in a flat fine. I just was so convinced that it was not going to be easy, and I started with flat color work, 3 colors, and that was a horrible idea. So once I like got away from that and just did like a 2-stranded color work in the round, I was like, this is so freaking easy. Okay, never mind. So, you know, I like keep knitting color work socks, and my husband's like, I thought you hated color work. I'm like, well, I don't like color work in the flat. Okay. So definitely I would say that. The other thing would be maybe buttonholes. Just without knowing how to do a buttonhole, looking at a buttonhole, you're like, oh my god, I don't know how I'm gonna do that. And then when you read the instructions, you're like, that's so easy. Oh my gosh, that's literally just like a yarn over and a knit 2 together. Anybody can do that. Caffeinated Craft Mama wanted to know, what is your favorite thing you have ever knit? And I was gonna bring it in here and I forgot. I'll put a picture in. I made a Age of Brass and Steam shawl out of, so I'm gonna do this without throwing my back out like I did last time, out of this, which is like a mint chocolate chip tweed from Farmer's Daughter Fiber. The actual color is not mint chocolate chip. I can't find the actual color anymore. I don't know what it was. This is like 5 or 6 years old now. And I love it so much because A, I really like the color and I really like tweed. B, it was the first thing that I made for myself that I could wear on a regular basis. I knit it, it's pretty small. It's not like a schlanket. It's a very small, more like a cowl sized shawl. And I use it every winter. It's so soft, and my husband bought me the yarn for Christmas when I first got back into knitting, like the first Christmas after I first got back into knitting, and It's from a local maker, the yarn, local dyer, and I just love that thing. It's the second time I had knit that pattern, and it was the first time I ever blocked a project. I was that new into knitting. I was like, oh, you get it wet, you block it, and it looks better? Ah! So that is by far my favorite knit, just because it was a gift from my husband. The yarn is a local maker. I could wear it. It was like my first really, really successful project. So it is especially important to me. And then, speaking of my husband and yarn that he's bought me and things like that, he was talking about this shirt, and he's like, I'm so glad that it came out looking nice and wearable. And he doesn't mean that like, I don't think you could. He means that like, he's like, I have this image in my head of how homemade clothes look, and how they look kind of like, you can tell that they're homemade, and they're like, people made them homemade because they couldn't afford to get their own clothes at the store. And I do understand what he means. And so we were talking about the difference between like homemade and handmade, and how a handmade item, like you go to a fancy suit tailor and they take your measurements, and you walk through their store and you choose the cloth that you want, and they tailor you a shirt and a jacket, etc., to your body with the cloth that you want, in the cut that you want. That is handmade. It's got all the perfect fine finishing details and things like that, but there's nothing homemade about it. And there's nothing wrong with homemade. Homemade cookies are great. They don't look perfect, but they taste amazing, right? That's a homemade item. The chocolate chip cookie that kind of spills off the side. But when you're going for something handmade that you're going to wear like this, you know, it's fine to have a mistake or two in there, because I think that does give it a little character that says this is handmade. But on the other hand, you do want to like choose a pattern that has really nice finishing, really good fit for your body, right? Like, I'm a really curvy girl. Me personally, I'm probably not going to make like a boxy, or something like that, because I don't think a 53-inch chest with huge hips in a boxy is going to look right. Maybe it would. I don't know. I've never seen it on that type of person, but that doesn't, in my mind, strike to me as the kind of thing that's going to look great. Whereas like the Bright Access tee is a boxy fit, but your arms are mostly showing, and it's got a wide boat neck, and I think that is the kind of thing that's probably going to look good on somebody like me. So you gotta like pick your stuff accordingly. You need to measure yourself. Oh my God, it's like swatching. You know, don't be disappointed if you didn't measure your bust, and you didn't measure your hips, and you didn't swatch, and then you knit something and it don't fit, or it fits but it doesn't look like it looked like on the designer's page, because they had 7 inches of ease and you have 1 inch of negative ease. You know what I mean? And I'm like, so it's just all those things that go into it, and then the quality of the yarn that you put into it. And that's not to say that you can't knit with acrylic, because you certainly can, especially like, you know, if you know you're going to need to wash it a lot, or if you have an allergy or something like that. But like, there's a difference between saying I'm going to knit with acrylic and then going and picking like one of the 10 primary colors that are sold at the store, in the store in Joann's, versus going online to Joann's, where, you know, maybe they have like 40 colors available, and then you can pick a color that really complements your skin, right? Because primary red is, you know, primary red, primary blue, things like that, those aren't gonna complement most people in the way that like the full range of colors would. They're great for kids, but when you're looking for a garment that you can wear, that you can like integrate into your whole wardrobe, a primary red or a primary blue sweater is not going to match your whole wardrobe for the most part, I don't think, unless you've got like a really capsule wardrobe going on, unlike me, you know. So there's just a lot that goes into it, and it was an interesting conversation to have, because I think a lot of people are worried, you know, when somebody says, oh, I'm gonna hand make a sweater or whatever, they're worried that they're gonna make something and that it's just gonna look kind of cheesy. And it's not. Like, we're putting a lot of thought and a lot of time into what we're making. And then too, the flip side of that is it makes me realize like how totally supportive of me my husband is, in that, like, you know, he lets me get a couple balls of yarn here and there, and I have a stash, and he had a relative who wanted to know what I wanted for my birthday, and he was like, she wants yarn. And the relative was like, she has all that yarn and none of it's knit up. Why does she need more yarn? And my husband was like, well, did you know it takes 4 to 5 skeins of yarn to make a garment for somebody her size? And I was like, you're amazing. Because he does get like, he's like, this is not necessarily enough yarn. This is a lot of pairs of socks, but this isn't very many sweaters. You know, this, you can't put like 3 unmatching things together into a sweater. That's not how it works. You gotta either like make a fade, or you gotta do color work, or you gotta buy 5 skeins that are all the same color, all from the same dye lot. So I was like, you really get this. This is awesome. You know, this shirt total probably cost $45 to make. It's one of the cheaper knits that you're gonna make. But that's not taking into account needles and the tag that I put inside of it, and my time and effort. There's a lot that goes into hand making items. So it's just something to, I guess, consider when somebody's saying like, why are you hand making that? Why are you spending so much time on it? Because they want it to look really good. I want to be able to wear it for years to come. I want it to fit into my wardrobe forever. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on handmade versus like homemade, and like, is it okay to have something that looks like it definitely, oh, it's made with love, but it's full of mistakes, or versus I'm gonna go back and fix a little bit of it to make it look right? And I'm not saying everything needs to look perfect. Certainly, like, I'll go back and I'll fix the bee that is a little bit messed up right now. But, you know, if I have a stitch that's a little bit split, I'm not gonna back up and fix that, you know. But on this, when I had drop stitches where I only caught one strand, I definitely dropped down like 20 rows, picked up both strands and knit back up, things like that, like just to make sure that it looked nice. What are your thoughts on that? How much are you willing to fix? How much are you willing to let go? And what does it bring to you to do either one of those things? Let me know below. In the meantime, have a good morning, good afternoon, or evening, depending on your time zone, and stay safe with all the extra brand new germs that are flying around.